Hey, welcome back to The Average Kitchen. Today, we're gonna make one of my family's favorite meals. My kids love it, chicken cordon bleu. I'm gonna show you how to make this. Very easy, midweek or weekend meal, whatever works for you. I've got 4 chicken breasts here. I've got some sliced ham, bunch of toothpicks. I grated some cheese and cream of mushroom soup and some fresh mushrooms. Let's put it together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is throw some saran wrap or cellophane, whatever you like to call it, across these, just to avoid some splatter. I think I might even double up. So what you wanna do is you wanna hammer out the chicken and try to flatten it out as best you can. Now I happen to have this meat tenderizer, mallet, hammer thing that works very, very well. And it doesn't have to be paper thin. We're not making like schnitzel, but you want it thin enough that you can put some ham and cheese in it and roll it. So let's get going. So you'll see the thicker parts obviously take a little bit more hammering. I should add these are boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Be a little hard to do with a bone in it. So the next step we want to do is get rid of your mallet hammer. We're going to take off our plastic wrap. So we've got some grated, just some regular grated mozzarella cheese here. Sorry, some grated cheddar cheese. And I'm going to sort of set up like a working station for myself. What I'm going to do is, I'm probably going to flip these over. So you can see they're relatively thin. They're not crazy thin, but they're workable. And we're going to put it on a full slice of ham on each piece. You want to make sure you give yourself enough room, space them out. So this is just a standard sandwich ham. And then we're going to put in a generous amount of cheese in each one. Now I've done these with toothpicks and I've also done them with butcher twine. I find the butcher twine sometimes is like a 2-person job. One person to hold the chicken and one person to tie. So because Jamie's on the camera here, I'm going to do these with toothpicks. So essentially we want to start to roll and tuck in the best we can our chicken. And then we're going to start grabbing toothpicks. Obviously the toothpicks come out after the cook is done. So you can sort of see how that's coming together. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect looking, just has to hold together. And I can guarantee you it tastes amazing. So there's the first one done. So we're going to put that on our cookie sheet here that I've sprayed. So we are going to cook these at 375 for 45 minutes. And some people may say, oh, that's a long cook time for chicken. I don't mess around when it comes to chicken. I always want to make sure it's cooked thoroughly so that we don't have any issues. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our cream of mushroom soup and warm that up. And then once the chicken is done and comes out of the oven, we'll add our soup and some fresh mushrooms as well. So anything that's left on your cutting board, you can stuff inside the best you can into your chicken. So as I'm putting these together, I sort of just had a bit of a epiphany to myself. I think what I'm going to do is actually cook these upwards like this, so that as the cheese melts, it holds together better and stays within your chicken. So we're going to, I'm going to wash my hands and we're going to get those into the oven. So while that's in the oven cooking, we've got some downtime here. I just did some dishes, cleaned up my whole workspace because I was working with raw chicken. I want to make sure that my hands are clean. Now we can do the prep on some of the rest of our dish. So I've got Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. I'm going to open up those 2 cans and get them into this Pyrex dish. And what I'm going to do with probably about 10 minutes left to cook on that chicken is I'm going to put this Pyrex into the oven to slowly warm up our soup. Because as you can see, and if you've cooked with cream of mushroom soup before, it's pretty thick and dense. You know, if you're making this into soup, a lot of times you'll add milk, so it'll help thin it out. But I have tried before just heating this up on the stove, and because it's so thick, okay, so I don't know how much of that incident that Jamie's going to show, but Band-Aid and a glove on now. What happened was, to fill you in, when I went to scoop out the cream mushroom soup with the spatula, I came straight down onto the top of the can. So got rid of the other cream of mushroom soup, cleaned everything, starting fresh with a glove and a Band-Aid. Safety first here in the average kitchen. So I don't even know where I was, but I'm gonna maybe repeat myself a little bit. I'm gonna scoop out 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and 10 minutes before our chicken is done, I'm gonna throw this into the oven to just warm this up slightly. And then what we're gonna do is, when the chicken comes out, we're gonna add the chicken to this Pyrex, as well as some fresh mushrooms that we're gonna cut up here in a second. And it's just gonna go back into the oven for about another 10 minutes, essentially just to warm everything up together. The chicken will already be cooked. Now, some people will make this dish by taking raw chicken and adding it right away to the sauce. I'm not a fan. I'd rather just cook it separately first and then add it afterwards, but everybody's different. I'm gonna try now to not cut myself and just clean out some of this excess cream mushroom soup that's in the can. And so far on that regard, we're injury free. So I'm just gonna give that a quick mix. Again, it's pretty thick. And then eventually we're gonna lay in our chicken right into that. Doesn't look overly appealing. I can tell you it tastes better than it looks. Okay, so I've got 25 minutes left on the chicken. Obviously, set me back maybe 10 minutes, but I've got some mushrooms to prep. So some fresh Kremen mushrooms. I think I've preached this before. I don't wash mushrooms. I clean mushrooms or dust mushrooms. You don't want to throw them in water and soak up all that water because mushrooms are very porous. So basically I just clean them with a piece of paper towel. And in this case here, I'm gonna cut these relatively thick because I wanna make sure that when we throw them back in the oven, that they don't shrink up and we lose that beautiful texture that you gain from a mushroom. So I'm just gonna go through and probably do maybe 4 or 5 good sized mushrooms here and have them ready to go for whenever the chicken's done and ready to come out of the oven. So when I mentioned cutting the mushrooms like a decent size, you'll see here, they're pretty thick. The issue is if you go ahead and cut your mushrooms like this, by the time they hit the hot sauce and they get all mixed around, you won't even notice that they're in there. So I like to cut them chunky. I mean, that maybe was a kind of a thick example, but a good sized chunk of mushroom so that when you take a fork and fork into your dish, you know that you've got a big chunk of mushroom on board. So I just wanted to provide that explanation and the reason why I do it that way. I've got my soup, I've got my mushrooms. I'm gonna add those to the soup mixture, the cream mushroom soup mixture, and give that a little bit of a mix. And again, that'll help heat everything up and make sure that's well coated. And then essentially when the chicken comes out of the oven, we'll create little pockets in the Pyrex here and just sort of nestle in our chicken. So I just pulled these little bundles of joy out of the oven. You can see they look pretty awesome. We did have some cheese leakage, but I think that's pretty normal. And I also pulled out, now you can see here now it's a little bit heated up, which is nice. Mushrooms are starting to cook, so we'll have a little bit of, make some room to put our chicken in there. So, do have the little injury here, so we'll see how this goes, but I'm gonna try to pull out these toothpicks and not burn myself. Now, if I was smart, which I'm not, I would have counted how many I put in each, but I'm not that smart of a guy. Just bear with me, I'll get these out. All right, so we managed to get all of the toothpicks out. I had to get my sidekick Jamie here's assistance, so we're gonna now work these into our sauce. In retrospect, I probably should have used a bigger Pyrex, but it's all right, they all fit. So I'm gonna spoon a little bit of that sauce over top of those chicken bundles and just throw it back in the oven for maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and have a look. All right, so I just pulled it out of the oven. I must say, I didn't make rice today, but normally you would serve this on a bed of rice. I can tell you it's a rich dish. You got a full chicken breast, ham, cheese, mushroom sauce, and mushrooms. You generally don't need anything more than just some plain white rice, but for the purpose of the video, I didn't do rice today. So let's pull one of these out. I'll throw it on the plate there, and I'm just gonna throw on a little bit of sauce. And what we're gonna do is just gonna cut into it without burning our face. We'll try to have a bite, see how it tastes. So you can see it's quite hot. Moment of truth here. So you can see that beautiful cheese, ham mixture. Smoking hot. Maybe I'll cut it even one more time. Chicken cordon bleu made in the average kitchen. Let's give it a try. So good. Chicken is super moist. Get a little bit of that cheese, that ham, and that mushroom. It's a perfect bite. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.